Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Jata Parakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavangscha Sri Rupam Sagradatam Sahagana Raghunatang Vitang Tang Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitangscha Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chaksurun Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Adadana Sriram Dantaya Idam Jache Puna Puna Srimad Rupa Padambo Jadulisham Janma Janmani Nindantam Pulakot Korena Bikasam Nipa Prasunat Chavim Prodrikritva Bujadvayam Hari Hari E Tuchai Vedantam Mahu Nityantam Dutamasrunir Jara Chaye Sinchantam Urvitalam Gayantam Nija Parasadaya Parivritam Srigaurachandram Nama Ananda Lila Maya Vigrahaya Hemavadivyascha Visundaraya Tasmai Mahaprema Rasapradaya Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste. So we're reading from an excerpt from the talks of Srila Guru Maharaj. Primarily about the holy name of Krishna. He quoted Sanatana Goswami Prabhu from Brihad Bhagavatamritam. And last we heard the Padma Purana slok given by Rupa Goswami, Nama-chintamani Krishna Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha Purnakshudho Nityamukto Abhinatvam Nama Namano. Talking about the holy name of Krishna and its chintamani-like quality, and fulfilling all of the soul's aspirations. So here, this is, Guru Maharaj is now quoting from the Srimad Bhagavatam, the last chapter of the Bhagavatam. Remember, 18,000 slokas, 12 cantos, and we reached the last chapter, so all the verses there are very significant, and conclusions are being drawn. So here it says, Srimad Bhagavatam Pramanamamalam Yad Vaishnavanam Priyam Yasmin Paramahansa Ekam Parahangsam Ekam Amalam Gyanam Param Giyate Tatra Gyana Viraga Bhakti Sahitam Naiskarmyam Aviskritam Tatstrinvam Supatam Vicharana Paro Bhaktya Vimuchainaha Nara. As Srimad Bhagavatam is the spotless Purana. It is especially dear to the Vaishnavas. It has knowledge that is especially appreciated by the Paramahansas. When carefully studied, heard, and understood repeatedly, it opens the door to pure devotion, through which one never returns to the bondage of illusion. So, just for our understanding of Puranas in general, we hear three divisions. Those targeting the Tamagun section, people predominated by the mode of ignorance. 6 targeting the Rajagun, overwhelmingly passionately oriented. And then 6 in Sattvagun, or the mode of goodness. But the Bhagavatam is being called Pramanam Amalam. Means there's no tinge of the mundane. And Srila Guru Maharaj pointed out why Puranas occupy this particularly exalted position. Because it's sometimes described as supplementally supplemental literature, supplementary. So then we think, oh, but Veda is the original. So the Rig Veda, that's the first religious book of the world. That must occupy the primary position. But we're told, no, the Puranas are more valuable. So how is that? So Guru Maharaj gave an example. And the Vedas, it would say, describe the Lord simply as Adbhutakram, which means he of wonderful stride, right? He of wonderful, astonishing stride, movement. That can mean many things. We could think, oh, Mahaprabhu, Gauranga Sundara Nagaravara Nityam Nijaranamami. He's dancing and singing, you know. It could be an encrypted reference to Mahaprabhu if we want to go deep, but generally taken to mean Trivikram means the Vaman avatar. So Vamandev, he of wonderful stride, is described extensively in the Puranas. So once in Moscow at Koselny, someone was visiting for a so-called or self-described scholar of, Vedic history and things like that. So we're having a discussion, and I mentioned that in the Vedic literature, other than a poet giving a date upon the completion of a work, they don't give dates. Like Western history is full of dates. On a particular date, something happened. Right? I'd been to the Calcutta Book Fair, and they had some relatively old books there, and there was one from a historian, an Englishman, who was writing back to his countrymen in England saying, they have histories here, but it's not like the way we do history. And he said, like about dates. And he said, because apparently they don't consider the dates that important. Right? Anyway, so I was talking to him about this and saying this about particular dates and dating system. I said, in fact, we hear from Guru Maharaj, another meaning of Purana is, full, or that which fulfills, in that sense, supplementary. But another meaning is old, or oldest. So, if Veda is the first book of revealed truth in the created world, how can the Purana, which comes chronologically later, be considered older? You understand? So Guru Maharaj explained, he said, because they have information from previous creations. So when I told him that, he said, oh, no scholar will accept that. I said, exactly. Now you understand. This is beyond scholarship. Right? He said, no scholar will accept that. I said, that's why you can't understand the inner meaning of what is being expressed here, because it can be only known through devotion. Bhaktya mama bijanati, Krishna and Bhagavad Gita. So he's saying, they have information from previous creations. In that sense, older. And here we're told, Srimad Bhagavatam pramanam amalam, that it means it's completely pure without a tinge of the mundane. Who's the speaker of the Bhagavatam? Sukadev Goswami, who by way of introduction, he's legendary. We know when he comes upon the scene of Parikshit Maharaj, who's been cursed to be bitten by a snake bird within 7 days because of his apparently disrespecting a Brahmin. We're told this is the beginning of the Kali Yuga. And noteworthy is what led Parikshit Maharaj to behave in this way? Right? We're told out hunting, he was overwhelmed by thirst. Right? And that's why he approached this Brahmin who neglected it. He wanted to quench his thirst. And being disrespected, there was a serpent lying dead nearby. He took his bow and draped that serpent on the Brahmin. The Brahmin's son was indignant, saying, "You've insulted my father," and he cursed him, to die within 7 days. Right? Right. So that's an important thing to remember. In other words, being overwhelmed by thirst led him into this unfortunate predicament. And we will hear later that what is the root cause of our problem? Thirst for the mundane. Right? So it's literal and metaphorical at the same time. And that Parikshit Maharaj, who's sitting in this assembly of all the great sages, of the leading schools of thought, right? They've come from all over the universe to advise him. And so they're giving advice. We're talking about pramanam, spotless, pure, no tinge. So they're giving advice on the basis of what they feel helped them overcome the mundane. There was some mundane influence there, so they're saying, this is what I did, this is what I recommend. But some Gyan, yoga, karma, tapa, so many different things. And Parikshit Maharaj says, I have 7 days, and what you're recommending to me, you could spend a lifetime in each one of those, but only 7 days I have, so it would be, if you all get together and then present to me a unanimous verdict that you all agree upon, a consensus, what I should do. Right? And it's at that time that Sukadev Goswami came upon the scene. 16-year-old boy, very beautiful. If you read the description there, Srila Gurudev would recite it sometimes by heart, the beauty of Sukadev, and he even told me certain things he borrowed from there to glorify Srila Guru Maharaj's divine form in different slokas that he wrote. And he's legendary, 16 years in the womb of his mother, because he's a liberated soul, inside, outside, it's of no difference to him. He comes out in that way. So he's the legendary Sukadev Goswami, and what is part of his legend? He's never been under the influence of the mundane. So his advice will be, hold the most prominent position. The others are saying, this is what helped me. But here's someone who's never been under the influence of the mundane. So when he arrives, we're told those sages, they're expert in the art of physiognomy. So just by looking at him, they can understand he's a Mahapurush, a liberated soul. Right? And although he's only 16 and he's in the presence of sages who may ostensibly be thousands of years old, no ego on their part, they offer him the presidential seat. Right? And it's from him that Parikshit Maharaj inquires. And he frames his question in this way, by saying, what is the duty of one in life, specifically for one who is about to die? And Sukadev answered by saying, this question, this is not just your question. This is the question that everyone needs to answer, because we're all facing mortality. We don't know when. So it's not just, you've got 7 days. And by the way, 7 days is more than enough. And he gives the example of Katvanga Maharaj, who served the demigods, and as a boon, they're saying, whatever you want, we'll give that to you. He goes, first, I have a question, if you could answer. Yes. How much longer do I have to live? They said, a moment. He said, I'm glad I asked that question first. So he's saying, in a moment, he realized the urgency of the situation and was successful. So he's saying, 7 days is more, don't worry about the time aspect. As Guru Maharaj says, quality gives us relief from mathematics. So that's Sukadev. By way of introduction, as Parinirstitopi Naragunye, Uttama Shloka Lilaya, Grihita Cheta Rajarse Akyanam Yadaditavan. So you all know I was situated in the Nirguna plane. Right? We're talking about pramanama, spotless, pure, not even a trace amount of the mundane. He said, I was situated in the Nirguna plane. Nirguna means above. Tama, Raja, Sattva, above that. Right? But we could say, so the higher than the highest aspect of the mundane, but the lower aspect of the transcendental realm. So he's saying, that's where I was situated. Right? And it's significant that he, in Guru Maharaj's words, is the loudspeaker of the Bhagavatam. And why, I'll explain that. See, if he's a devotee of Krishna, if he's a legendary devotee of Krishna, then bringing him into the situation, we can understand he has a bias toward Krishna. Then naturally he's going to talk about the glories of Krishna. But that's not his position at this point. Remember, this is Leela. He's performing a particular role in the pastimes. So, in essence, he's a Brahmavadi, not a Mayavadi, a Brahma. He's spiritually realized, but he's above the mundane and the lower aspect of the transcendental. That gives him the earned respect of the audience. Right? So this is someone they can hear from. Right? And we hear early on in the Bhagavatam the description. Remember, he's the son of Vedavyas. And at one point he gets the inspiration to leave Vedavyas's ashram, and Vedavyas is running after him. We could say out of some paternal affection, or, you know. And it's a very melancholic section of the Bhagavatam when he cries out and saying, in separation, only the trees answered, meaning an echo of his own voice calling out, and Sukadev went off. Right? And Vedavyas later composed one sloka that he trained some forestmen, like hunters, to recite, knowing that if Sukadev heard this, it would bring him back. Nirvitatar Shire Upagiyamanad. And that word tarsh means thirst. And he's saying, when you drink this substance, you overcome mundane thirst. So remember, Parikshit Maharaj, overcome by... So, and we're told when Sukadev is leaving, there's some Dibya Devis, ladies bathing naked in a pond. And Sukadev goes by, and they don't bother to cover themselves. And when Vedavyas comes, they cover themselves. And Vedavyas is puzzled. He's saying, when he went by, you didn't bother, and now I'm here, you know, and I'm Vedavyas. And they said, we don't see, he has no male gaze. We don't see even trace amounts of the exploiting tendency in his glance. Right? So why is this significant? Because on the basis of what Sukadev is going to deliver. So this is a way of certifying him that he has zero interest in mundane sexuality and mundane sensuality. Right? So he's been certified in this way as significant. And now he's the speaker in this assembly. Right? So he's Parinirstitopi Nairagunye Uttama Shloka Lilaya. So I was situated in the Nirguna plane. But Uttama Shloka Lilaya. Then I heard the Uttama Shloka means these supreme love poetry about Radha and Krishna and the Braja Gopis. Uttama Shloka Lilaya Grihita Cheta Rajarse. And through that hearing, that divine sound entered my heart and carried me away to a domain that I didn't know existed previously. Grihita Cheta Rajarse Akyanam Yadaditavan. So this person who's beyond a brahmachari, who has no interest in mundane sensuality, is utterly charmed and captured by the divine pastimes of Radha and Krishna and the Braja Gopis. So, so he's telling Parikshit Maharaj, and in that assembly as well, that the thirst for the mundane can only be overcome by tasting this divine substance. And that was in the sloka Ved. Nivrittatarshayar upagiyamanad bhavoshadach shrotra manobiramat. Bhava oshud means the medicine to treat the mundane condition. And unlike so many medicines that are bitter or horrible, there's always someone who gives you something horrible and tells you how good it is. It's almost like the worse it is. It's supposed to have a very good effects. We're told here. But very interestingly, this is Mano Abhiram. Means it is so beautiful and tasteful to the mind. So it's the medicine that cures the mundane, and it's also very tasteful. Right? And so much so that when Sukadev says to Parikshit Maharaj, after so much discussion, "Are you tired or hungry or thirsty?" He said, no. Remember, he entered that situation overcome by mundane thirst. He said, no, relishing this nectarine substance you're delivering to me, I feel no fatigue. So, I'll read from here. So in the Bhagavatam, we're talking about Nama-chintamani, that it's similar to the kalpa vriksha, fulfilling all the desires, but it means spiritual desires. So in that Bhagavatam, it says, Nigama kalpaturur galitam palam shukamukharam ritradavirsamyatam pibata bhagavatam rasamalayam muhuraho rasikabu vibhavakaha. So that's Sukadev. And his name is noteworthy too, that, like we're told, the parrot whose beak has broken the fruit and tasted the fruit, that fruit becomes sweeter. Shukamukad amrita. So by Sukadev's relishing this divine substance, it's become even more tasteful. Right? And Nigama Kalpataru, the Kalpataru of Vedic literature, The Vedas are there as a desire tree to fulfill all desires. And therefore, these divisions of, Tama, Raja, Sattva, all desires will be fulfilled, will be addressed. So many branches of Vedic knowledge. But we see as the mangoes are returning, right, that if you look at a mango tree, there's the trunk, so many branches. Some branches are going this way, some branches are going the opposite way. Right? Don't be deceived by that. They all have only one purpose, which is to produce mangoes. Same thing. Oh, this branch of the Veda going this way, this branch going that way, this is saying this is saying that. Don't be deceived or misled. They have only one purpose. Nigama Kalpatarur Galitam, this purpose, to produce this fruit. The Prabhupada called it the mature fruit, fully ripened fruit of Vedic literature. That mango, or that fruit that's on the tree of Veda, what is it? The juice that's in there, Madhura Rasa. Right? So here, the Bhagavatam saying at the end, Pramanam Amalam. Srila Guru Maharaj likes to quote Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. He also talks about Pramanam Amalam, but in one sloka, he sort of condensed everything that is Gaudiya Vaishnavism. He says, Aradya Bhagavan Brajesha Tanayas Taddama Vrindavanam Ramyad Kachid Upasana Brajabadu Bargena Chalkalpitai Srimad Bhagavatam Pramana Mamalam Prema Pumarto Mahan Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhur Matamidam Tatradaro Napara. He's saying, Aradya Bhagavan Brajesha Tanayad. That there's no superior form of worship than Brajabadu Bargena Jakalpitai, than that which was invented by the Braja Gopis. Guru Maharaj like to use that word, invented. They invented this. Right? Radharani and her friends and assistants, saying there's no superior worship than that. Right? And who are they worshiping? Aradha Brajesha Tadama Vrinda, Krishna in Vrindavan. Right? The Aprakrita Leela of Krishna. Krishnera Jateka Kela Sarvatam Naralila Naravapu Tahara Swarup Gopa Vesh Venukar Navakishore Nadavar Naralila Hoy Anarup. The central conception of the infinite is in human-like dimension. At one extreme, Anoraniyan Mahato Mahayan, you have all-accommodating Brahma. That's one extreme of the infinite. At the other extreme, all-permeating Paramatma. So, what Guru Maharaj posed this question, what is the central conception of the infinite? Right? One all-accommodating, one all-permeating. What's the central conception? All-attractive. Reality the beautiful, human-like dimension. That contradicts rational thought. Right? So in the human-like dimension, that's the central conception of the infinite. Reality the beautiful, ecstasy personified, Krishna. So he's saying, Krishna in Vrindavan. What did we hear? Sola Krosha. We heard in the Navadita Mahatmyam, Navadip Sola means 16 Krosha, what is it, kilometers, 50 square kilometers, right? 32 square miles, 50 square, whatever your metric is. Right? So I thought, wait a minute, that the ultimate reality, you're describing it in a very limited way. Right? Yes, right. It contradicts rational thought. Jnane prayasam udapasam namanta eva. You cannot understand this mentally or intellectually. But, so it said, and in that place, we hear, there, in the mundane, the objective world, there are innumerable universes. Right? Each one a billion by a billion whatevers. Right? And there's innumerable ones. Right? And that is the uniquadrant, a quarter of the creation. And not really, but just for the sake of conceptualization. The other 3/4, the Vaikuntha world, innumerable Vaikuntha planets, right, that are a billion by a billion in size. And then we're told, and beyond that, and the higher, that's the southern hemisphere of the spiritual world, higher than that, Ayodhya, Avramila, Dwaraka, etc. Then we're told, so in Vrindavan, that in one particle of the soil of the Shola Krosha Vrindavan exist all the Vaikuntha planets, all the material, and a part of that soil. And it transcends rational thought. Right? We're dealing with the infinite, as Guru Maharaj reminds us, the infinite who sleeps on a bed of infinite, Anantashesh. So in that plane of Vrindavan that's of human-like dimension, and a particle of the soil is the entire Vaikuntha world and everything else. Right? Because when Srivas Thakur wanted, a heart eruption from Swarup Damodar, and pressed him by teasing him and saying, you look at the goddess of fortune of Vaikuntha, right? Her opulence, unlimited, inconceivable opulence. And what do the gopis have in Vrindavan? Some trees, flowers by the river, and they're herding cows. I mean, there's no comparison, right? When Mahaprabhu said to him, Hera Panchami, Srivas, be careful what you say around Swarup Damodar. He's a Shudra Brijbasi. Aishwarja, opulence, is not a word in his dictionary. And Swarup Damodar said, no, it's not that I don't understand opulence. I think Srivas may be exhibiting some temporary insanity. Have you forgotten the nature of Vrindavan? And remember, we are told when Mahaprabhu went on his South Indian tour, everything is significant. Some things especially significant. 2 books he collected, right? Brahma Sangita and Krishna Karnamritam. Right? So first, he quotes a verse from Brahma Sangita about the nature of Vrindavan. Was it Shreya Kanta Kanta Parama Purusha Kalpataravo? There's Kalpataru again. So what are the trees there? Kalpataru, Bhumis, Chintamani, Gonamai, Toyam, Amritam. The water there is nectar. The soil is Chintamani. Chintamani Gonamai. Bhumis Chintamani. Yataganam, Natyaгаmanam. All speech is song. Guru Maharaj said, what is song? Sound with the element of beauty. All movement is dance. What is that? And you say, movement enhanced with beauty. Yataganam, Natyaгаmanam, Priya Bhankshi. And Krishna's there with his best friend, the flute. So that and Chintamani, Charuna Bhushana Mangananam, Sringara Pushpa Tarabas Suranam, Brindavanam Brajananam Nanukamadenu, Brindani Sukha Aho Vibhuti. Yeah, he says, and the Chintamani gems from that soil, One Chintamani gem possesses more opulence than all the Vaikunthas and everything included. And the Braja Gopis are taking those Chintamani gems, stringing them, and wearing them as jewelry, anklets on their holy lotus feet. So that Krishna conception, that is Krishna in Vrindavan, the central conception of the infinite, reality, the beautiful. So he says, and there's no superior form of worship than that invented by Radharani and Braja Gopis, which is what? Atma Samarpanam. Offering yourself. There's so many things you can offer. What is their method? To offer yourself. Self-oblivion to that extreme. Not self-annihilation. Self-oblivion. To be so wholly given over to the other as if to lose oneself. So these are outrageous statements, you can say. Right? So someone say, what is the evidence for that? You're saying these things. What is the evidence for that? He's saying, Srimad Bhagavatam Pramanam Amalam. It's in the Srimad Bhagavatam. As Guru Maharaj wrote in his poetry, Yadamiyam Mahima Sri Bhagavatyam Kathayam Pratipatam Anubhutam Apya Labdhabideya Shamalila Avalambam Madhura Rasadi Sri Radha Parapadmam Prapadye. Although ostensibly her name is not mentioned, when Sukadev, when that part of the Bhagavatam comes, where the name of Srimati Radharani should come from his mouth, he doesn't say it. He says, the one who worshiped Krishna the best. Krishna left the rasa dance and went searching for the one who worshiped Krishna the best. And then we're saying, like, why didn't he say it? We say it. Why didn't he say it? And all these great sages are there. Two reasons we can consider. This is so high and so confidential and shocking, actually, that the audience, although they're the greatest sages and representatives of all these different schools of thought, their collective jaw has dropped to hear what's coming from Sukadev. Right? But they can't dismiss it because his aforementioned qualifications, he's legendary, he's certified, and now he's saying all these things. Right? He told in the beginning, Jugupsitam Dharma Krute Anushasata Veda Vyas, being chastised by Narada for doing what? Saying, you gave religion to the world and ruined everyone. What? Isn't that what I was supposed to do? He's saying, was not your purpose, but you've given people a loophole, an out. He's saying, they will remain bound in this world forever in your name. They'll say, I'm following what Veda Vyas wrote. Right? Are you a greater authority than Veda Vyas? You're going to tell me something different? This is what he says. Right? He's saying, so because you showed how, Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha, this sequence, so people, they're never going to become liberated truly in the positive sense because you've given them a path how to pursue the mundane within religious parameters. So now, this is what brings the Srimad Bhagavatam. Right? So, these sages, they're hearing Narada chastise Veda Vyas for giving religion to mundane religion. What does the Bhagavatam say? And the second, Dharma projita kaitavo cha paramo nirmat saranam satam. Dharma projita koitava, cheating religion. In other words, being religious, so-called, but with no real, sincere attempt to overcome the mundane. So it's called koitava dharma, cheating religion. And it's saying that will not be given in the pages of the Bhagavatam. Why does he say that in the second verse if he's not alluding to what I gave previously could be misinterpreted? This you won't be able to. So none of that will find itself in the pages of the Bhagavatam. Right? So these sages, they're hearing this, so they're saying, so you told us that the condemnable thing was religion. And now here in the 10th canto, you're telling us that what is condemnable is the new religion. Right? Religion, in the beginning, you said that's the condemnable thing. Now you're telling us the normally considered condemnable thing, that's the new religion. So it's so astonishing and shocking to them. So Sukadev has to, Parikatmar, seeing the mood of the audience, asked him a few more targeted questions, where he said, so Mahadev drank an ocean of poison and the end result was his neck turned blue. If you try to enter into these divine pastimes without being properly qualified, you'll be damaged. You'll get a disastrous result. So, and Shiva can drink an ocean of poison? Why is it being compared to that? Because we're told the snake bite of separation, right? The antidote is Krishna Lila. But without feeling separation, one is unqualified. Achirena Dhira, without complete sense control, like Sukadev Goswami. So many qualifications. Vikreditam Brajabadu Viridam Cha Vishnu Sradhanvato Anushranayad Arta Varnayedyak Bhakti Param Bhagavati Pratilabdha Kamam Hridroga Mashru Api Hinoti Achirena Dhira. So, what I wanted to say. So, serving the audience, when Sukadev was about to take her name, he hesitated to do that, to express that before them. And in the Brihad Bhagavatamritam Tika of Sanatana Goswami, his commentary on his own work, he says that if Sukadev Goswami will vibrate the holy name of Srimati Radharani, it will ignite a fire of separation within his heart that will totally consume him, and he will become dysfunctional. He won't be able to carry it on with his seva. So he hesitates to do that. So in Guru Maharaj's slogan is saying, although her name is not mentioned, every step of the way is meant to take us in one direction, the service of her holy lotus feet. Shama Lila and the whole Madhura Rasa pastimes are dependent upon her. So what is the evidence? Srimad Bhagavatam, Pramana Mamalam. And what does it say? Prema Pumarto Mahan. What you got previously in Vedic literature was, Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. 4. Saying, Prema Pumarto. This is the 5th, the actual goal of all this. Prem, love, as Guru Maharaj says in the introduction of the Golden Volcano, that the Bhagavatam is taking us from the world of intellectual jugglery into the domain of rasa. So it culminates in the Madhura Rasa pastimes that are presented in the 10th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. So that's the third line. So then Guru Maharaj says, right, we told Krishna, Vrindavan, the supreme type of worship, as conceived by Radharani and Brajagopis. What is the evidence for this? The Pramana Mamalam, Srimad Bhagavatam. And then Guru Maharaj says, and how have you come to know these things? Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Matamidam Tatradaro Napara. From Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself. Jadigor no hoita tabiki hoita kamani daritam dehe radhar mahima prema rasasima jagata janata ke. If Mahaprabhu had not come down, then these things wouldn't be known. Radhar mahima, the greatness of Srimati Radharani, and the limits of limitless Krishna Prem. So, here, let's see. So it says, Shuddha Nitya Mukto Abhinatvam Nama Namano. So Shuddha, what is Shuddha? As much as it is producing the satisfaction of Krishna, the calculation of purity will depend on that. So we say something is pure. Saying, so what is the degree of purity? To the degree that it is giving satisfaction to Krishna. As much as surrender and surrendered service is for the center, for the absolute good, it will be considered so much pure. Nitya Shuddha, always who takes the name of the Lord, satisfied only with the sound aspect, or engaged in the service of the sound aspect of God, he is always pure. He has no ambition in this world of elevation, neither elevationist, nor has any quest for the perfect rest in the renounced stage, but he is a self-dedicating soul. So you have these three competing narratives, basically karma, gyan, and well, you can throw in yoga, but and devotion. Right? So exploitation, renunciation, dedication. Who is taking the name of the Lord and is fascinated by the charm of the sound aspect of the Lord, he is considered to be above the plane of exploitation, as well as renunciation. He is deeply engaged in service, so much so that he does not want anything. Only the connection of the sound aspect is satisfying him highly. He is so much niskinchan. He does not want anything. Only the name suffice. The name of Krishna is sufficient for him. He is so easily satisfied, no demand. And I think Niskinchan Krishnadas Babaji Maharaj, who always taking the holy name of Krishna, and we're mentioning the Srimad Bhagavatam in the last chapter. So think 18,000 verses, the 12 cantos. What is the very last verse of the Bhagavatam? Right? Babaji Maharaj liked to sing it. He'd say, Nama Sankirtanam Yasya Sarva Papa Pranashanam Pranamo Dukha Samanas Tannamami Harim Param. That's it. After all of it, the very last verse, Nam Sankirtanam Yasya Sarva Papa Pranashanam, it will free you from all, sinful activity, negativity. Sarva Papa Pranashanam, Pranamo Dukkha Samanas, relieve all suffering. Tanma Namami Harim Param. So, and for such a person, they don't need anything other than Krishna Nam. If we think Abhinatwan Nama Namano, we're told the holy name of Krishna and Krishna are identical. So in their Nam Sankirtan, that means Krishna, another way of putting this, Krishna is there with them, personally. So of course you don't need anything else. Maybe every now and then they take a sip of water. Krishna is there. It's not they're thinking about, meditating, They're with Krishna. They're engaged in Krishna, direct service to Krishna, who's the source of everything. Ahang sarvasya prabhavo. Of course, they don't need anything else. Don't desire anything else. Why would they want something less than Krishna? Nitya shuddha, nitya mukta, purna shuddho, nitya mukto, binatvam namanamano. And why is it so? Because the sound is inseparably represented with the subject itself, himself. There cannot be any sound where the whole representation of the Absolute is not present. Abhinatvan namano. And he goes to another word. Dehi, deho, dehi, vibhago yam neshware vidite gochat. In the mundane conception, we find that the name, the figure, the color, different aspects have got separate existence. They can be separately conceived, but it is not the way, not the nature about things which are divine. Every part is present everywhere. Guru Maharaj likes to quote, who's the Frenchman? Descartes? Said, define the infinite. Everywhere center, nowhere circumference. Right? Or Pascal, actually it was, not Pascal. Everywhere center, nowhere circumference. Right? In the Brahma Samhita, Angani yasya sakalendriya vrittimanti pasyanti panti kalayam jaran jaganti ananda chenmaya sadujvala vigrahasya govinda maripurusham tambaham bhajami. Saying, all of his senses are interchangeable and can perform the any sense can perform the function of all the other senses. So he can eat with his eyes. Right? So you present the prasad, deities, and eating, and also full prasad representation of what has been eaten. And all the devotees, they have this capacity there as well. Right? All their senses are interchangeable. Every part is present. Here, the eye can see, the hand can touch and catch. But in the case of Vaikuntha, divinity, especially of the Lord, the eye can see, the eye can hear, the eye can touch. I mean, once you hear it, it makes perfect sense. And we think, why didn't I think of that? Feet can see. Now he's taking it to another level. Om Tad Vishnu Paramam Padam Sada Pashanti Suraya Dideva Chaksuratatam Vishnu Yat Paramam Mama. Said Brahmins, before they do anything, they would always quote this Rig Veda mantra. Remember the Rig Veda? First scripture of the world? says there, before you do any, this is how you're saying. You should see the lotus feet of the Lord overhead like a shining sun illuminating everything. So not only can they see, they can show. They can illumine everything, the lotus feet of the Lord. Om Tad Vishnu Paramam Padam Sada Pasyanti Suraya. They're saying that way, when you do anything, think the Lord's lotus feet are above like a shining sun, illuminating and revealing everything. Now we can proceed. Feet can see, feet can touch, feet can smell in this way, just in our mind, as in our mind. Now he's giving an example. We say, well, how is that possible? We like to say that about the infinite divinity, right? Tiny finite soul. Like, how is that possible? I remember as a kid, you'd hear someone, they think they're being supremely clever. They'd say something like, "Can God make a rock so heavy he can't lift it?" And after I came in connection with Krishna consciousness, I realized the answer to that question. Yes. And it doesn't have to be heavy. And what is, you say, what is the evidence for that? Is that when we're told, when Krishna is a toddler, the elderly Braja Gopis, they're making garlands, doing things with milk, sweets, and they're doing so many different, and sometimes they'll say, Krishna, can you hand me that? And Krishna will pick something up and bring it to them. But we're told, this is in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu of Rupa Goswami, sometimes it's too heavy. Remember, he's a toddler. Right? This is the Aprakrita Leela of the central conception of the Supreme Absolute Truth. Right? So if it's too heavy, we're told, what does he do? He touches it to his head. He gives like dandavat. So there it is. He can't lift it, and it's not that, relatively speaking, that heavy. It's just as a toddler, he can't lift it. And I mean, for those who are following this line of thought, in another context, he can lift a mountain with the pinky of his left hand. So yes and yes. So he is the most central thing that can act in any way. The part and the whole cannot be differentiated in general. But still, when he likes, he's got that capacity also. I think I just explained that. To a particular class of devotee, he is found with his full-fledged figurative characteristic. The eye is so beautiful in different ways. Eye beauty. Nose beauty, aroma in another way. All-pervading omniscience, omnipotence. These are servants of the will of him. We may take it like that. So, William Blake, and that, if we cleanse the doors of perception, we will see everything as it is, infinite. Right? What are the doors of perception? The senses. So he's saying, cleansed of what? He doesn't say, but Guru Maharaj comes to save William Blake by saying, acquired prejudice and acquired tendency. So our doors of perception are polluted by acquired tendency and acquired prejudice. Right? On the basis of limited experience of the limited, we've drawn erroneous conclusions about the unlimited or the infinite. And it's blocking us from having an unfettered experience. Right? So when the doors of perception are cleansed, sarvapadi vinirmuktam tatparatena nirmalam. When, another way of putting it, upadi, one meaning is substitute. When we stop substituting finite for the infinite. Rishikesha Sevana Bhakti Ruchate. Another name of Krishna, Rishika Isha, Rishikesh. That he's the Lord of all the senses, the epitome of all sense expression, as realized in Govinda, who's the beyond what we could imagine. But in other words, if the doors of perception are cleansed, then that means there must be infinite beauty, as Guru Maharaj said. The visual aspect, infinite beauty of visual aspect, infinite beauty of sound, infinite beauty of taste. Right? And then it gives meaning or purpose to our senses. Right? Srutvaguran bhuvana sundara srinvatamte, like the Queen Rukmini saying, now that through hearing Nama, Rupa, Guna, Lila, I came to conceive through sound representation, your form has appeared. Your form of infinite beauty. And now I understand why I have eyes, why I have the visual sense, is to appreciate infinite beauty. Sound, auditory beauty, infinite visual beauty, right? Personified in Krishna. So on the basis of that, all sorts of knowledge, all sorts of energies are only in a serving attitude, waiting for his order. Though he has got figure or form, there's no limitation of his figure or form. Still, he has a form, but it is infinite in his character. So, Purnak Shuddho Nityam Muktvo Binatvam Nama Namano. We'll get to that the next time. Hare Krishna. Hari Harai Namo Krishna Yadavaya Namaha. Hari Harai Namo Krishna Yadavaya Namaha. Yadavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Namaha. Gopal Govinda Ram Sri Madhusudan. Giridhari Gopinath Madana Mohan. Sri Chaitanya Nityananda Sri Advaita Chandra. Garadhara Srivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jai Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raguna. Sri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasa Raguna. Echai Gochai Kori Charana Bandhan. Jaha Hoite Vignanas Avista Puran. Echai Gochai Jar Mui Tarodan. Kansa Dandavada Padarenu Mora Panchagram Dandara Charana Sevi Bhakta Sanivas Janame More Abhilas Echai Gosai Jabe Braje Koilovas Radha Krishna Nitya Lila Korilo Prakash Anande Bolo Hari Bhat Vrindavan Shri Guru Vaishnava Pade Majayaman Shri Guru Vaishnava Pad Padma Koriyas Kori Nam Sankirtan Kohe Narotamadas Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nitai Gaura Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Gaura Hari Bo. Nitai Gaura Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Gaura Hari Bo. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivrajaka Satara Sata Shri Srimad Srila Bhakti Sudhir Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Bhakti Rakak Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Bhagavan Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai. Jai Saparikar Sri Sri Guru Gauranga Gandharva Govinda Sundar Ju Ki Jai. Jai Saparikar Sri Sri Guru Gauranga Radha Govinda Sundar Ju Ki Jai. Shri Giriraj Govardhan Ki Jai. Shri Rup Sanatan Bhattara Raghunath Shri Jiva Gopal Bhattadas Raghunath Sad Goswami Prabhu Ki Jai. Shri Rupanuga Guru Varga Ki Jai. Nama-chintamani Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gop Govinath Shyamakunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Navadip Dham Ki Jai. Shri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat Ki Jai. Shri Gupta Govardhan Ki Jai. Ganga Devi Jamuna Devi Bhakti Devi Tulsi Devi Ki Jai. Om Vishnupad Vishvavarenya Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Shri Chaitanya Saraswat Mata Charja Brenda Ki Jai. Jai Srila Bhakti Bhimalavadit Maharaj Ki Jai. Sannyasi Brenda Ki Jai. Shri Bhakti Lalita Devi Dasi Ki Jai. Seva Brenda Ki Jai. Samaveda Bhakta Brenda Ki Jai. Nitai Go Premanande.
Srila Bhakti Sudhir Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. And Maharaj,
Yes.
Dandavats from Bhaktabandhu Prabhu and Krishna Chandra Prabhu, Philippines. Dhanjaya Prabhu, Anadi Krishna Prabhu and Rasananda Prabhu from Russia. Ofir Yavitz, Sahadevi Didi and Kalyani Didi from USA. Lila Sundar Prabhu, Ukraine. and Andrzej Kulczak. Atul Krishna Didi, Atul Krishna Prabhu and Madhavi Didi from Hungary. Anandamoyi Didi, Portugal. Tapanendini Didi, Mexico. Aditi Nandana Prabhu, Shyama Malini Prabhu, and Vijay Krishna Prabhu from UK.
Hare Krishna. My Dandavats. Hare Krishna. Rasananda Prabhu and Sochi Dandavat. Ramanuja Das and Ishwari Devi Dasi Dandavat. Hare Krishna. Rupa Vilas Prabhu in the Philippines Dandavat. Chaitanya Nitai Prabhu in Vrindavan Dandavat. There's Sripad Bhakti Sevan Rishikesh Maharaj and the Abhazia Bhaktavrinda Dandavat. Jivana Didi and Krasnodar Dandavat. Chamuna's Mama Elena in Moscow Dandavat. Hare Krishna. Vrinda Devi Dasi and Nizhny Novgorod. She's Kalindi Priya's mom. Lakshmi Priya Didi in Kiev Dandavat. Braja Latika and Orsk Dandavat. Rasamoyi Pandita Dasi Dandavat. Achyutananda and Yaroslav Dandavat. There's Rishikesh Maharaj again. Krishna Chandra Das. Hare Krishna. Dandavat. An associate. Ananta Shesh Prabhu in Spain. Dandavat. Pavel Brun Prabhu in Moscow. Dandavat. Suleika Didi in Kiev. Dandavat. Ajita Krishna Prabhu. Dandavat. Ira Devi Dasi in Russia. Dandavat. Nalina Nayana in China. Dandavat. Hare Krishna. Somya Sham in Ors. Dandavat. Suryas Krishna Das. Where is this?
I don't know.
Huh?
I don't know.
Oh, okay. Dandavat. Hare Krishna. Wherever you are, Dandavat. But it would be nice to know what that means. Madhavi Lata and Odessa Dandavat. Anjali Devi Dasi Dandavat. Rasananda Prabhu in Ukraina Dandavat. And with all the Bhaktavrinda there, Dandavat. I think they're in Govinda land. Dandavat. Hare Krishna. Ananda Murti. That we like to talk about. Dandavat. Krishna is the Ananda Murti. Bhagavan Das, Dandavat. Praneshri, Devi Dasi Dandavat, doing the Spanish translation. Indumukhi and Mitra Benda in China, Dandavat. Lakshmi Priya Didi in Kiev, and where else? Who else? Sulakshana is here. She's doing the Chinese translation. Suchitra Didi Dandavat. The Vela Govinda Ashram, Vela Govinda Bhaktavrinda Dandavat. Ajitasha Didi Dandavat. Leelavati Priya and Abhazya Dandavat. Prafula Krishna Prabhu Dandavat. Nityananda Das is here doing the Russian translation.
Maharaj, and Suyash Krishna Prabhu, it's from Mauritius.
Oh, Mauritius.
Yes.
MRU means Mauritius. All right, wow. We had the good fortune to visit Mauritius with His Divine Grace, Srila Govinda Maharaj. And there's Asha Purna and the Parikramis with Vinodini and Ram Sundar and other associates. Where are they? There's Keshavananda Prabhu, their guardian. He's the guardian of the devotees. Hare Krishna. Beautiful. All right. Well, where are they in Jaipur or Vrindavan? Rishikesh. Oh, I spoke about Rishikesh tonight. Rishikena Rishikesha Sevanam Bhakti Ruchate. Hare Krishna. There's another Anjali, Stereo Anjali, Dandavat, Seva Rupa Didi in South Africa, Dandavat. Anyone else? Ramanujanas, we did him. And
Yeah, that's it.
that's it? All right. Bancha kalpa tribhyascha kripa sindhu bevacha patitanam pavanevyo vaishnavevyo namo namaha.
Jai Srila Bhakti Sudhir Goswami Maharaj ki jai.